Square Enix Montreal was originally sort of built to work on a AAA game. In 2012, they were given a different focus, which is, can you take the experience and the knowledge that you've been building on the Hitman franchise, but instead make something for mobile? The studio ran sort of a sort of game jam style format, and that is really how the idea for Hitman GO came about.
Hitman games have always been known for this sophisticated, stylish universe with an attention to detail, and somehow they needed to find that. And their answer to that problem was so inspiring.
Hitman GO is a distillation of what the Hitman console games are all about, combined in this aesthetic of a board game.
And normally in the studio, we talk him about it, that Agent 47's, the reason that he's the best assassin in the world is not because he's stronger than everyone else, it's because he's one step ahead. And that part of Agent 47 is so well captured in Hitman GO because literally you want to be one step ahead, right? The game is about, being one step ahead or improving to take one step less at least. It's like a clockwork. Once you start with that, you understand that this can become super complex and so challenging in just the right way.
It's such a cool idea, just the aesthetic, the art, the music, just the style of it all, and like figuring out how many paces to the left and how many paces to the right, and screwed that up, you gotta go do it again.
It feels like you're wrestling with your own mind saying, I must be able to figure this out. There must be some way of shortcutting the system. And again, that is how you should play any Hitman game. It's brilliant.
As an outsider and as a player, I remember when I first saw Lara Croft GO, it was a cool example of subverting expectations. Oh, it's less board gamey. Like, I really liked those wooden boards on Hitman GO and this particular aesthetic. Like, oh, they're changing it. But that's really the best thing you can do is, like, do not do the same thing again. Do something very different.
I think that the first thing that struck me obviously was the visuals, and then once I started diving into the game, the two other things that really stood out for me was the simplicity of the controls, how much diversity in the gameplay and the mechanics and so on you could get with literally just swiping.
It had taken the idea that at its heart, Tomb Raider and tomb raiding is about solving a puzzle, and that just felt so right. And this idea that Lara has to move intelligently around a map, outwitting enemies and solving environmental obstacles, that just felt perfect.
As a gamer and as a Tomb Raider fan, a longtime Tomb Raider fan, I loved the game. The first time I played it, immediately I could tell that there were sounds from Tomb Raider 2 and the classic running sound and shooting sound, and these sound effects really had an instant, sense of nostalgia.
What's interesting is that an element of the original Tomb Raider games that the team pulled into Lara Croft GO was sort of the low poly feeling. Like, there's a nostalgia behind how those games looked, and like everybody's familiar with that original Lara Croft model, right?
It feels very, very much like a respectful homage, but it also is one that breaks new ground. I remember the first time that I was moving and climbing up a cliff, and I flicked forward and Lara did her handstand. It's such an iconic move from the earlier games.
I actually heard from one of the original core design devs, and they were so impressed by how well it paid homage to the original games that they created.
I love the fact that Square Enix Montreal has taken these two great franchises and come up with two unique games that are completely different than anything else that has been done on console or PC before. I hope they keep doing it, because I'd love to see what the next one is.
For the studio, after Lara Croft GO and after the success of doing a follow-up and the critical acclaim it got, at that point, the GO series was a series now, and to GOify a game was now a process. So there was an opportunity for Square Enix Montreal, being just a few blocks away from Eidos Montreal, to work on the Deus Ex franchise and to see if they could take that process and do it again.
For me, what struck me the most is definitely the ambience, the feel, the mood, the aesthetics, definitely, and also the abilities of Adam Jensen circumventing the challenges, whether it's robots, computers, and things like that. this kind of Swiss knife kind of hero, and Deus Ex GO really captures that very well.
I studied Deus Ex in my first video games class in college because the original game was groundbreaking in giving you choice and how you wanted to approach different challenges. It's something that I know the team tackled in going into Deus Ex GO, is how do we present you with a puzzle, with a scenario that involves stealth, that involves takedowns, and involves the hacking that people know from the Deus Ex franchise, and create puzzles that make you feel like you're choosing your path, you're making choices, because that's, from a design perspective, what that series is about.
Seeing Alex Vega being part of the adventure, which is an important character in Mankind Divided, for me was really cool, because now it was making like this Deus Ex GO experience was really stemming out from the original games and making them part of the big family. It didn't feel a disconnected experience.
The audience, the players, you have people who are fans of the Go games and have played the first two. The team decided to tackle the challenge of, okay, let's open this up, let's let people make their own puzzles and put them in control.
I think that Square Enix Montreal did a fantastic job at making sure that it was telling a very interesting story, a very good intrigue, while not trying to overshadow the puzzle experience itself. So I thought it was a very, very good mix between the two.
I often liken the future of Square Enix Montreal, its next step, to like the band's second album. You know, the studio's made a bunch of games now in this first series. It was sort of like an album. And now everybody wants to see what they're going to do next, what we're all going to do. Now that we've had the first couple stages of developing our prototypes and working through problems and throwing some things out, and now that we're getting to the thing that feels like maybe this is the next game and moving forward with it, I am super excited and super scared, but really looking forward to the point at which we get to show people what's coming next from the studio.